The Philippine gold hoard Spain never found, worth $50 billion today. In 1571, Spanish conquistadors stepped onto Philippine shores expecting gold. What they found made their jaws drop, but what they didn't find is worth $50 billion today, and it's still hidden somewhere in the Philippines. I'm about to show you historical records, archaeological evidence, and testimonies that prove the Philippines wasn't just rich in gold, it was literally drowning in it. And Spain only got a fraction, a tiny fraction. The question that haunts historians to this day is, where's the rest? When Miguel López de Legazpi arrived in 1565, Spanish chroniclers couldn't believe what they were seeing. Let me read you the actual words written by Friar Martin de Rada, official historian of the expedition. He wrote, and I quote, "The natives wear gold as if it were common iron, gold chains thick as a thumb, gold rings on every finger. Even their slaves wear gold." Stop and think about that for a second. Slaves wearing gold. Not just the nobility, not just the warriors. Slaves. Antonio Pigafetta, who traveled with Magellan in 1521, wrote that Raja Humabon of Cebu wore so much gold that, quote, "he could barely lift his arms from the weight of his golden armor and jewelry." But here's what Spain didn't understand. They thought this was all the gold people were wearing, the gold in the temples, the gold they could see. They had no idea what was hidden, what was deliberately buried, what disappeared the moment Spanish ships appeared on the horizon. Let's talk about the evidence. And these aren't conspiracy theories or treasure hunter fantasies. These are documented archaeological finds that prove the Philippines had more gold than almost any civilization in Southeast Asia. In 1981, workers digging in Surigao del Sur accidentally struck something with their shovels. What came up stopped them cold. Gold. Massive amounts of gold. Over 1,000 pieces of pure gold artifacts. Total weight, more than 4 kilograms of solid gold in a single hoard. The Philippines National Museum authenticated every piece. The dating, 13th to 14th century, at least 200 years before Spain ever arrived. And this was just one family's burial hoard. One family. Before we go deeper, our goal on this video is to get 500 likes and share your reaction in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. In Butuan, Agusan del Norte, between 1970 and 1990, construction workers and archaeologists uncovered what's now called the Butuan Gold Hoard. We're talking about gold death masks, sashes woven with gold thread, ceremonial weapons covered in gold leaf, and something that shocked metallurgists, gold that was 20 to 21 carats pure. Most ancient civilizations worked with 14 to 16 carat gold because it's easier to shape. Filipino goldsmiths were working with nearly pure gold and creating intricate designs that European goldsmiths couldn't replicate even with their tools. Carbon dating puts these artifacts between 900 and 1300 AD, again, centuries before Spain. In 1917, a Manobo woman named Bilay was digging in her field in Esperanza, Agusan del Sur, when her hoe hit something hard. She dug it up. A solid gold statue, 4 pounds of 21-carat gold, depicting a Hindu Buddhist goddess. Experts dated it to the 13th century. But here's what's interesting. This statue shows the Philippines had active trade with India, Java, and possibly even Cambodia, which means gold was flowing both ways. We were exporting and importing it, and we have proof from outside sources. Chinese records from the Song dynasty specifically the text Ju Fan Ji, written in 1225 AD by Zhao Rugua, describes the Philippines, which they called Ma Yi, as a major source of gold. He wrote, "The land is rich in gold. The people trade gold for iron, porcelain, and colored beads." The Arab traveler Ibn Battuta mentioned in his writings from the 1300s that traders spoke of islands east of Java where gold was so abundant that even fishing nets were weighted with gold nuggets instead of stones. So if there was this much gold just lying around, just being worn casually, just being buried with regular families, where did it all go? Spain kept meticulous records. They documented every grain of gold they extracted from Mexico, Peru, Bolivia. They recorded the exact weight of every gold bar shipped back to Seville. But for the Philippines, the records show something strange. The amounts are shockingly low compared to what the Spanish themselves described seeing. Spanish colonial records show that between 1565 and 1898, over 300 years of occupation, Spain officially extracted only about 200,000 ounces of gold from the Philippines. That's roughly 6.2 metric tons. Let me put that in perspective. In just 50 years, Spain took 180 tons of gold from the Aztecs and over 2,000 tons from the Incas. But in 333 years in the Philippines, only 6 tons? That doesn't add up, especially when their own chroniclers described Filipinos wearing gold like iron. Here's what historians believe happened, and this is supported by oral histories passed down through generations, anthropological studies, and the complete absence of gold in areas where Spanish records say it should have been abundant. When Spanish ships were spotted approaching coastal villages, Filipino datus and rajas didn't wait around. They buried everything: gold jewelry, gold religious statues, gold ceremonial weapons, gold trade goods. Everything that could be carried was taken into the mountains, into caves, into underwater locations that only local divers knew about. Spanish Friar Francisco Colin wrote in 1663, and this is in the official records, "Upon our arrival in many villages, we found the houses abandoned and the chief's residence stripped bare. Our guides told us the people had taken their valuables into the forest, but we could not follow, as the paths were unknown to us and guarded." They knew. The Spanish knew the gold was being hidden. But the Philippines isn't a small island. It's over 7,000 islands with thousands of caves, endless mountains, and coastlines the Spanish could never fully patrol. Every region in the Philippines has them, stories passed down through families about caves filled with gold. And before you dismiss these as folklore, consider this. Many of these stories are specific. They mention landmarks, family names, and exact circumstances. In Ilocos, there are stories of the Yamashita treasure, but locals will tell you the caves Yamashita allegedly used were already treasure caves. The Japanese just added to what was already there from the Spanish era. And what was there from the Spanish era? Gold that Filipinos hid centuries earlier. In Mindanao, the Lumad people have oral traditions about the golden burial caves of the ancestors in the mountains of Surigao and Agusan, caves that were sealed with rocks and curses to keep Spanish priests away. In the Cordilleras, Igorot elders speak of gold mines that were deliberately collapsed when the Spanish came. Mines that had been worked for over 1,000 years, and people are still finding gold. In 2019, a farmer in Antique Province found a 2-kilogram gold chain while ploughing his field. In 2015, fishermen off the coast of Palawan pulled up a gold burial jar in their nets. In 2022, construction workers in Cebu unearthed a clay pot filled with gold coins, pre-colonial, authenticated by the National Museum. These aren't isolated incidents. They happen every few years, small finds, but they point to something bigger. So let's do the math. Conservative estimates from archaeologists and historians suggest that based on Spanish descriptions, Chinese trade records, and the sheer number of gold artifacts found in just random discoveries, pre-colonial Philippines had at least 500 to 1,000 metric tons of worked gold in circulation. At today's gold prices, around $65,000 per kilogram, 500 metric tons equals $32.5 billion. 1,000 metric tons? $65 billion. But remember, Spain only officially took 6 tons.